Welcome, screen printing artist, screenprintingartist.com. Check out the website. We're going to have some cool new membership areas. You get a chance to work on some screen printing design, increase your skills, and learn how to separate, or just learn the basics even if you're starting from scratch. I've been putting this different videos together. This one in particular is going to be on logos. Creating a logo, especially a kind of one with a little bit of special effects in it. Now, the idea of this logo is you get a little bit more bang for your buck when you use some of the special effects in CorelDRAW. Now this CorelDRAW 5, that's what this interface is. Obviously you can get up to 7 now. I still use 5 on occasion as well because it's fast. It's fast to open, fast to do things. 7 is perfect too. You can do all these effects in 7 and all the way down to 5. So these effects are actually printer friendly, and that's important to realize. There's a lot of special effects you can do, mesh fills and some other things, embedded effects and different things that they make it kind of difficult to separate the design when you're done. Now I make a point, all my effects, my point is to create good designs for t-shirts, and when you're doing special effects you have to be cautious. Sometimes you can create effects that give you a real hard time when you go to separate, and all these things are pretty simple. So without further ado, we can go ahead and get started on this one. I want to note that this design actually works really well on like an Ash shirt. One of the other things that works well too, I'm going to get rid of this background, is if you do a shirt like this. I'm just going to move this other shirt over here, kind of put it in the middle here, and show you if you take a design like this, it works really well. Let me put it to the top here. Just control page up for those of you that are following along in quick keys. You put this towards the middle of the upper back, and then you can put like a, if you use the same sort of effect, you can put a water droplets down so it looks like it's splashed, part of a splash on the back of the shirt. Another effect that's real common with this is to actually angle it, so it looks a little bit more like a surfboard, and then maybe you have some stuff going on down here. Both of those are real common. And this effect was real popular a number of years ago in web graphics and interface graphics, this kind of gel look. It's come back a little bit. People still enjoy it, so it's a cool thing to do for a t-shirt. Now, when we're building this logo, let's go ahead and dive in here. CorelDRAW 5 here. I always type my type out first, just so that we can see what the fonts look like. Go ahead and type in some dolphins here, and then swimming, right? M-I-N-G. And just for fun, let's go ahead and change the top name, because we already have dolphins on the top. Let's assume that their competitor wants a shirt similar. They saw it somewhere and they really liked it, so let's go sharks. Let's do the sharks. So the sharks are going to chase the dolphins, something like that anyways. My bad attempt at humor here, so bear with me. And we'll go ahead and pick that same font. So if you know what the font is, that always helps. If you don't know what the font is, you can use different tools like what the font in this. Otherwise, you can go online. Use Identifont was popular for a while. This font, you can see, is kind of busted up now. To use it in the way that we want to use it here, I'm going to italicize it. So I clicked on it a second time. So you click on it once, click on it a second time, drag it, so I kind of skewed it. You see that? I'm going to crush it a little bit, so it's going to fit into our design. And then I'm going to break it apart. Now, one trick when you break a font apart, break it Control K first, and that keeps it as letters. See it's still editable here. It's an active text, and then I can enlarge these or even retype on them without changing them too much. But I am going to want to combine these letters like I did up here a little bit. I'm going to kind of squeeze them together, and the way to do that is, so I'm going to move them, and now they're all separate individual characters. That was Control K that did that, and I enlarge the S, and then what I can do is I can take this and then I Control Q. So if you do that in that order, now they're all curves. You can see that, right? And now they're all curved. So in that case, you have all individually curved, which can matter if these are all real complicated letters. But for this case, we can go ahead and break them apart again. I'll combine them, Control L, and then Control K. Now they're all just little pieces, and you'll see how that works. I'm going to go ahead and move this over so it touches, kind of merges together there. Move this one over. I'm just modifying this font a little bit so I can get what I want without messing around too much. In some cases, you might want to keep these separate, like stencils. In this case, I want to have them all merge together. So now that they're merged together, now I can take these font and really kind of have them all touch, because that's the way that logo was right there. And I'm just using the nudge keys here. I'm just kind of holding the nudge keys down, kind of putting them together. And you can play with this a little more, but again, depending on how much of a time crunch you're in, sometimes you just got to bang these things out. So hold it down. If you hold the shift key down, it goes a little bit faster. I may not want that R to merge with the K, because then it'll look like an N, so I leave that one separate. But the S can merge with the K pretty far. So you can see how that'll work, right? And sometimes you know just by watching what's legible and what isn't, and what works and what doesn't. So when I get to this point, I can merge them all together by hitting the weld button up here. Hit the weld button. Now I have them again. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit more. As you can see, starts to fit just about where we're looking here. Swimming, I know what that font is. That looks like a copper pot, I think, or something along those lines. It's like a kind of like a bank gothic or an extended font, but it has like, let's see, where are we here? You can also go COOP if you know the font, and it'll go right to it. So sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. There we go. Get that. Now see how it's spread out here? The way you do that is you can kind of italicize it a little bit, and then put your shape tool on and stretch it out. So stretch it out that way, like that. And then you can kind of go back to the pick tool here, put it underneath, and you want it about the same distance as the middle of the S on the end, right there. Okay. And then of course we save our file here. We'll just go ahead and save it. Don't mind the little beep. There, we saved it. And now we got to start making this whole thing look nice, right? So we can grab our oval. Now grab our whole oval. Now you'll notice it's a weird shaped oval, right? One side's a little higher than the other. So you can either skew that or you can rotate it. Now one thing is I'll duplicate this oval by Control D, and then I'll move one inside. Now if your duplicate isn't on, you'll notice up here my duplicates are set to 0 and 0, right? That's the duplicate distance. If your duplicate distance isn't set 0 to 0 prior to opening the file, and you hit Control D, it's going to nudge your duplicate off by whatever distance is in there. So that's something to keep in mind. I also have my nudge distance 0, 1, which is why when I was nudging this over, it wasn't making big nudges, right? So that's something you can correct or change. Now you'll notice when I rotate this, it's going to get a lot more like this above. So I just rotate this off a little bit. So it gets a lot more like this above kind of oval here, which is what we want because we want to have the same look. And then I'm going to go ahead and save it. We gotta hustle a little bit because I'm going to run out of time on YouTube here. So I'm going to do this inside blue. And now this outside color, you'll notice this is still an ellipse. You see that? Now to make this inside, if you zoom in here, you're going to see there's kind of an inside contour here. So to do an inside contour on both sides to get this little slice here, we have to knock this out of this piece. So what you do is you take this and you hold the shift key down, select them both, and then you hit the trim key. So now what we've effectively produced, let me move it up and see. So you kind of created a donut out of that. And the reason that's important is because now when and I know I'm going kind of fast, so you may have to slow this down or watch it again, so I apologize, but a lot of people have been telling me, slow down, man. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but to get through this whole thing, see, in one video on YouTube is a little tricky. So you'll see more videos where I can talk a little slower when I do them on my website, when I actually produce them for the content for the classes. I'll go a little slower, break them apart a little more. On YouTube, I got to go a little faster, so bear with me, guys, please. So I break that apart. So I contoured it inside, hit apply, broke it apart. So now we've got a slice on each side. See, a slice like this and a slice like that. And then we've got this inside oval. So we just click on the inside one, control duplicate it, bring this one in again. And this time, this one, we're going to go a little lighter just so you can see it. And we rotate that one this way, right? So this one goes almost to the edge there. And in that case, and you can stretch it out a little bit too, just so it's a little bit more of a, gives you a little bit more of a swoosh there, right? Let me rotate a little more here. There we go. Okay, so we can kind of see how that's kind of working out. Now, if it doesn't look right, or if it's too skewed or something, you can adjust it a little bit more. Sometimes if it's too far off of center, as far as an oval goes, then it looks a little weird. Now these all may be skewed a little bit on this one, but just in the interest of getting this done, let's go ahead and keep going with it. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a fill. I'm going to use a fountain fill. Now I don't like to get too fancy with fountain fills because, again, if you're going to create them and then you got to separate them, they can cause you a lot of pain at the end of the day. But for this case, we're going to want this aqua look again. So I'm going to go ahead and go into models, and I'm just going to punch in an aqua color, probably like 40 and 20 here, making a nice kind of aqua, like a light aqua. And you can see how that kind of gets aqua-esque right there. And then I'll create a midpoint here, just in the middle, which I can make, let's make it not aqua obviously, but let's make it like 40 and then 5, so we carry some of that over, and then just like 10. So that way this kind of flows into this color right here, and I say okay. Now we got to make it go up and down. There's a couple of ways of doing that. You can take this interactive fill tool and just click it here, and then if you hold the control key down, it'll constrain it to 90 degrees, so you can click it right there, and then you have it where it's kind of going up, you see. And then to finish this, now we're going to blend it. So I hit Control D and I bring it in, and then I'm just going to use a real quick way to adjust this is just go lightness, and you bump the lightness a little lighter, not a ton, but a little bit. You say okay. That lightens the whole thing a little bit. Now sometimes that kills your hue a little bit, so we'll check it just to make sure it didn't destroy our hue too much. Looks like it took it down to about 38. That's good. Okay, so now we're going to take this and we're going to blend it in there. Go to your blend tool, which is in this where you see the that little champagne glass has all your effects in there. Hit the blend tool, go on and click one to the other, and then I'm going to right click to take the, and the reason I did this is it makes it real interesting kind of a blend to the center here. And I'm just going to click this, and we're just going to go real quick to wireframe mode to make sure our blend didn't get distorted. Sometimes your blend will get spiraled or something weird, especially if you don't have a perfect ellipse. In this case, it looks okay. Now, if I was going to do this on a big poster, I might want more steps in my blend than what I have here. I've only got 20. It isn't a bad idea to kind of bump it up and double it to 40, just in case you're going to go ever enlarge it and you want to make sure your graphics are going to be nice. Now I'm going to take this same fill that I put here. I'm going to click. See, if you click on the blend group, there's a little trick too. Click on your blend group. It'll say blend group down here. Hold the control key down, and then, or I'm sorry, shift. And then if you click the top one, it'll default to the opposite one. So in other words, I didn't want to click the top one, which is lighter. I wanted to click the bottom one, but it's hard to grab that, right? So if I hold the shift key down, it kicks the opposite out. So it says control ellipse, and I know it's the back one now. So now what I can do is I can take that same fill here, I can grab it, I'm just going to right click on it, and I'm going to drag it over here to my outer ellipse here. And I'm going to say copy fill here. And so see, I copied the fill, but I want to just change the angle of that now. So I'm going to go up here, put it over there. I'm going to change the angle down here. So you can see I kind of spun that a little bit. Now this might not perfectly match the top one, but that's okay. You get the idea. And now we've gotten this kind of blend going here. Got the blend going on the inside. And now we got to finish these effects up here. So we're going to bring this sharks thing in here. I'm going to group it. I'm going to bring it in here. I'm going to put it up to the top. I'm going to squish it a little bit, just make sure it fits in here, right? And again, this can be where, oh, it doesn't quite fit, so now I need to kind of rotate my my oval just a little bit, maybe a little bit more. I'm going to rotate my blend just to make it fit a little bit more. I can always enlarge it up and down a tiny bit, you know, just so I just kind of hold the shift key and enlarge it up and down just a tiny bit, like that. There. Okay. And then always save your file, Control S, when you get part way through. Then we turn this blue, right? Let's ungroup it. The bottom one we'll make a little lighter blue. And then it's time to just kind of put the special effects in here now. A couple different ways of doing that. You know, obviously we have some effects here that look like this kind of shiny stuff, you know, this kind of gel. This is where you put the gel on. The gel can go pretty quick. A nice way to do this is to create do all your type effects first. So I'm going to Control D on it. I'm just going to nudge it twice and nudge it over twice. So I went up twice and over twice. And then I'm going to put this kind of blue on it. I'll go back one so you can see it's kind of back there. And if that looks too bright versus what we have here, you know, if it's popping out from this too much, what you can do is you can kind of just go in with the eyedropper tool here and just grab one of your background colors. If you want it to blend into the background, you can grab one of your more popular background colors and pop it in there, you know. If you want it to be a little bit brighter like this one is up here, where it still has a little bit of blue but not a lot, then you can just grab, you know, just use a different color. This blue just looks like just a hair too deep, so maybe we just grab, you know, one of these other blues here. Let me go just a little bit darker than that. We'll just kick it, instead of 20, we'll just go, I gotta wait for a second. Sometimes this interface gets a little quirky. Let's go. Gotta wait. Come on, girl. Gets caught in a loop, and then you gotta wait. You gotta redo it. I think we're okay now. Alright, let's go back again. Kick that up, and then we're just gonna lighten it just a hair. Let's do it again. Here, let's go to 50, and we'll go to 10. There we go. There. So something like that. So if it looks too bright, it's knocking it out too much, or it's too close to that color, then you can, you know, change it that way. And another thing to do here, Control D, we go down 2, over 2. We're gonna make that white. That's gonna be kind of like our highlight. Put it down once, probably put it down twice. You may want it up or down, depending on how you want the effect to look. I'll leave it down all the way. Swimming again, same sort of thing. I think we can, you know, you may want to go so the lighting looks like it's inset. So that'll be delete, Control D, I mean, not delete. Otherwise you have to recreate it. Here we go. And then we'll put that down. There we go. And then save your file again. And now we do the effects. Now the cool part of the effects like this is you don't have to spend a ton of time to get all these effects to work. One of the things I like to do with effects is you just need a little shape here. And you can just kind of create a rectangle, bend the sides, and then just Control Q, convert it. And then you can use an envelope here real quick to use this kind of single arc mode. And you just shift, raise it up, and then you can hold the shift key down, grab these corners, and kind of drag it in. You see how it kind of makes it like this kind of a weird, you know, kind of arc shape. And if you want these to be more rounded, just Control Q again, and then get out your shape tool, and just double click here and here, and then you can get rid of these nodes here, delete them, and see how it kind of makes it a little bit more of a blobbier arc, which is kind of nice for this kind of, we'll just kind of go ahead and get rid of those. See how that kind of makes it more of a oblong shape a little bit. I don't want to distort it too much, but this is going to be kind of your top lens flare, if you want to call it that, which, you know, you can kind of arrange now. And you can use, obviously, your, here, let me go ahead and even this out so we don't have a bump in here. Delete. I get a little fussy about things like that, but you can kind of see where, oh, this edge looks okay, but maybe I need it to align perfectly to this outside, so I need to kind of move my shape up a little bit so it's, you know, aligned perfectly. Maybe this doesn't align as good as it should to this one, so I drop this down a little bit. You know, grab all your nodes here on this side and just drag it down a little bit so it's, you know, even. And then once it's even, you hit white on it, and then you're going to go to this special effect, which is your transparency tool, and you just click it above it and drag down. I usually hold the shift key down, and then you can kind of play with it a little bit if it's too bright or if it's not enough. One of the things you can do if you don't want 100% white up here is drag your white point up, and then you can kind of play with this slider here to kind of get a little bit more or less. obviously as you click off, you're going to take the outline of that off, and that can kind of give you that glow there. And maybe I want it to be going all the way past the sharks here, so it kind of gets that. And then a neat thing to do to make your special effects get more mileage is Control D, flip it upside down, and now I'm going to fill that with this electric blue. And now you can kind of see how I get this bottom one. Let me move this up here. This bottom one going this way. So this kind of looks like a shadow now, going over the lettering underneath. But this one, I don't see how it's kind of muting this. I don't really like that. So I'm going to go underneath, just go Control Shift down, and then I'll go up a couple till it's almost like underneath my design. And I don't like the way it's hitting here, so I can just with my transparency, I can just drag this down a lot more. I can go darker here, but then I'm going to drag this down. You see how I kind of knock that part of it out, right? So I got just this flare here that gets darker, right? One thing I did up top here with this is I created this little accent underneath. The way you do that is you just need a slice. So to get a slice, I'll save this file real quick, and then I'm going to just take this, I'm going to slide it down, I'm going to right click right here, which means I just duplicated it. So I slide it down and then I right click with the mouse while I'm holding the shift key, and it creates a duplicate. Now what I can do with that now, I'm going to go down one, so control page down, and then I'm going to cut it. So I'm going to take this top lens shadow and I'm going to hold the shift key, click the other one. So let's see if I can get this here. Yep. Okay, so this one's still on top, so let me go down one more. Go a couple down, and then I'll go up one. There. Now, I'll take the top one, and I'll hold the shift key, and I click the bottom one. And then I'm going to trim it. And now, so this one, I can just fill with white. And you can see all I have is a piece now. See, because I trimmed it out. So I took the top oval, trimmed the bottom oval up. I'm going to bump it up just a little bit, because I like that little overlapping line that we got there. And again, you can do the same thing here. It looks just a little bit too bright, so I'm just gonna kind of drop that highlight down just a little bit. I like the accent, but it's okay. So I'm gonna save that, and now we're gonna wrap this up by taking these two. See these two pieces here? What we're gonna do is we're gonna split them in half. So an easy way to split them in half is to just take a real thin rectangle like this and just stretch it out real thin. This is a little cheaty way to do it, but you know, it's okay to cheat once in a while, just to make life easier on you. Kind of angle it a little bit, and then I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to stretch it a little further, and then I'm going to drop it down here, right about to there. Go over. I always save my file before I do this because I might not like what I get, so I Control S. And then I take this, which is one piece. You see how it's one piece? It says that curve. And you take this little piece here, and then you hold the shift key, and then you can trim it. So now what I did was I just did a real quick split here. And I'm going to hit Control K. And then I'm going to take this top highlight here, and I'm just going to drag that over here. Say copy all properties. And then so I got white. And then I can make that a transparency just like the other one, right? And I'll kind of do it this way a little bit. But I don't want to get close enough to where I'm going to see that clip is, right? And sometimes you angle it, it'll stay. Maybe I don't want this to be totally sharp, but something like that, right? So that's that one. And this one will be the same thing. Clip it here, white. No outline. Start here. This will be a little easier because it's straight up and down. So maybe I want it to be more like this. But I don't want the white to hit that edge where I cut it in half. So just kind of doing that. And then the underneath ones, you know, we got to have that, make it that color, that accent color, because it's a shadow. So hold the shift key down, grab both of those, put that purple in, and then here, maybe I want to go just a little darker on this one because it's right next to here. Maybe I'll even use that, and then I'll just put that blend tool in here, and then you won't be able to see where this is. See how it's kind of fading in? Looks pretty good. Leave it there. This one I can leave purple. Take that border off, hit this, and then we're just going this way with the transparency, right? So you're creating that. And then the last, save it again. And then, so this is like created our gel buttons. And then these effects up here, last little pieces, you can use, you can see what they are here. Let me just right click. I just created for that just kind of abstract. And I don't like perfect stars, so I kind of created a 6-point little star here. And let me just Control C, Control V. Save time, I'm just going to use the ones I had from above. Forgive me on that, but otherwise you could have to wait while I make a little star here. I don't think you want to do that, so we'll just go ahead and make this star here, pop it on top, and then we'll make another one, like a little lens flare that goes right over here. And I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger. And the way you do these is you're going to do a straight up drop shadow underneath them. So go to drop shadow effect here, just click on your item and drag it, but don't drag it that far. And then you're going to go like 75 opacity, 15 is probably okay. Click here because you're going to want it to be outside mostly. And then in this case, you're going to want white, and you're just going to want normal. And then see how it kind of fades it out. If it's too bright and fuzzy, you can always lower your opacity here. Say you drop it down to 40, and see that makes it a little bit more of a transparent. You see the edge of that. And then you can take one shortcut here is take this piece and go effects, copy effect, and then drop shadow from, and then click on that one. It'll dupe the same drop shadow over to here. And that's pretty much it. You know, you have your effect here and effect here. One thing I noticed is this blue looks a little darker than this blue, but you know, I mean, if you can change those kind of things really quickly depending on what blue you've picked, or depending on how the design lays out. Maybe that's just the way my monitor looks. Same blue, so I was just double checking. Oh yeah, the drop shadow behind everything. There's no outlines in this image, so I'm going to take off any outlines there are. So I'm going to right click on nothing, make sure I got no outlines, and then this outside image, I'm going to grab that, I'm going to go Control D, I'm going to go all the way up to the front, and then I'm going to go Control K, and I'm just going to save the outside one. So I hold the Shift key, that selects the inside one, I'm going to delete it. I'll go ahead and make this gray, and then we're going to hit a little drop shadow on this, right? Just hit a little drop shadow, grab it, put a little drop shadow here. May want to go a little darker. That's what I think ours is, 75. Hit enter. Yeah, maybe a little less. I'll go 55 maybe. Let's see about that. Not quite enough. I'm fussy. 65. And then we'll cut this down a little bit to 12. And maybe it's too far away, so you bump it in a little bit. Yeah, same sort of deal. Right about there. Looks like that one was a little more darker, so we'll go 75 there. And then this whole deal, control thing, you just hold the Shift key and go page down, and then that'll give you that drop shadow. And you can always edit it if it looks too much. When you get down there, click the drop shadow tool, and you can just drag that in a little bit if it's too much there. And then you've duplicated your look, different name, and hopefully this will show you how to kind of create this kind of gel look quickly in CorelDRAW. And then check out screenprintingartist.com. You're going to learn how to separate it, pull it out, quick effects for t-shirts.